Welcome back to Light Upon Light. In the first part of this episode, I mentioned the excellence of Surah Yasin and the story about the three messengers who went to a village and the people refused to accept the message, and then a man came running from the city to the village to warn them, but they killed him and the man was forgiven and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala admitted him to paradise. Now I'm going to move to Surah As-Saffat. As-Saffat, Saf means a row. Yasuffu means when you put people in certain ranks. So those who set the ranks. It's chapter 37. In verse 62, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what the food of those who will be in the hellfire. The menu is defining the menu for those who will be in the hellfire. A tree known as Shajaratu Zaqqum grows at the bottom of the hellfire. The fruits of the tree is like the heads of the devils. Has anybody seen the hellfire? Has anybody seen the heads of the devils? No. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us the opportunity to imagine what will be at the bottom of the hellfire. How can a tree grow in the bottom of the hellfire? And what sort of branches and leaves and fruits? So these people will eat from these fruits. And then the fruits will stop in their throats, will choke them. So they want to drink. So on top of the tree is boiling water. Shawban min hamim. Mixture made of boiling water. Imagine when they will drink it, what will happen? It will burn the inside, completely destroyed. So it's a form of continuous punishment because their bodies are going to be renewed. Their feelings will be renewed. Their senses will be renewed all the time. Because when you burn the skin, anything underneath the skin will not feel the pain. So, as a form of punishment, their senses will be renewed and the skin will be replaced. What was their crime? They were criminals. They rejected faith. They rejected the teachings of God. And they followed their own desires. And what else did they do? They followed their parents. So if your father is doing something wrong, there is no justification for you to follow him and say on the day of judgment, my father used to do this, so I followed his footsteps. No. If your father doesn't pray, it doesn't mean you don't pray. If your father smokes, it doesn't mean you smoke. If your father drinks, it doesn't mean you drink. If your father womanizes, it doesn't mean you womanize. Because that's exactly what these people said. Truly, they found their fathers on the wrong path, so they too were rushed down on their footsteps. So do not find an excuse, because on the day of judgment, it will not be accepted from you. وَكُلَّ إِنسَانٍ أَلْزَمْنَاهُ طَائِرَهُ فِي عُنُقِهِ. Every man is responsible about his personal deeds. Do not blame your father. If your father prays, copy him. If your father gives a charity, copy him. If your father is nice to your mother, copy him. If your father is nasty to your mother, don't be nasty to your wife and say, oh, well, my father treated my mother always like that, so what is wrong in me treating my wife also as bad as my father did to my mother? This is unacceptable. Let's move now to verse 100, the story of Ismail alayhi salatu wassalam, when he was offered to be sacrificed. You know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Ibrahim from Hagar, the Egyptian wife, a son called Ismail. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted Ibrahim and Ismail to rebuild the Kaaba, the house of Allah in Mecca, He wanted them to have no love of this life in their hearts. So when Ibrahim started to fall in love with Ismail, when he was a baby, Allah asked Ibrahim to take Hagar and Ismail and leave them in the desert next to the ruins of the Kaaba. And Allah saved them. Then when Ismail became a young boy, now he is walking with his father. So Ibrahim's love to Ismail started to occupy again the heart of Ibrahim. So Allah said, Ibrahim, go and slaughter your son. Ibrahim saw a vision 3 times. And he went to his son and he said, my dear son, Allah orders me to slaughter you. So what do you want me to do? He said, Ya abati, my dear father, if'al ma tu'mar. Do what you've been ordered to do. Inshallah, I'm going to persevere patiently. This is very interesting. You say to your son, please son, be careful when you cross the road. I know it. Please son, don't stay with bad company. I know it. So see, fortunately our children know everything these days. So Ismail, of course I'm not saying to you, go and say to your son, I'm going to kill you, because if you do that, the social worker will come and arrest you. So don't do that, please. So Ismail alayhi salam submitted to the order from Allah and he said to his father, do it, father. So when Ismail put his head down and Ibrahim alayhi salam had the knife in his hand and went on the head or the neck of Ismail to kill him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stopped the knife from cutting the throat of Ismail. In the same way, he prevented the fire of burning Ibrahim. Where was the mother? The mother, of course, submitted her will to the will of Allah, exactly like both of them. On the way to do this, Satan appeared to each one of them. And Ibrahim, Ismail, and Hagar, each one of them picked up a pebble and threw it at the shaitan, and the shaitan disappeared. That's why when we go for Hajj, what we do, we stay in Mina and we go from one shaitan to the next, and we throw these pebbles to remember what test Ibrahim, Ismail, and Hagar went through and how they defeated the shaitan, something which we have to do every day, every moment in our life, to defeat the shaitan, inshallah, by the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The interesting thing that after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confirms in the same surah that he gave the good news to Ishaq, to Ibrahim regarding his son Isaac, Ishaq. So unfortunately, the people of the book claim that the one who was to be sacrificed was Ishaq. It's very clearly stated in the Quran in Surah As-Saffat, chapter 37, that Ismail was before Ishaq and Ishaq came after Ismail. And there was about 12 years difference in age between them, which is mentioned in the Old Testament anyway. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah As-Saffat, verse 112, وَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِإِسْحَاقَ نَبِيًّا مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And we gave him the good news of Isaac, a prophet, one of the righteous. We blessed him and Isaac, but of their progeny are some that do right and some that obviously do wrong to their own souls. So you can imagine even the children of the prophets or the prosperity of the prophets, some of them do wrong and some of them do right. As you know, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is a descendant from Ismail, so his mother is Hagar radiallahu anha. So remember that to offer sacrifices in your life will remove the love of this dunya from your heart and will bring you much closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you for being with me. Hoping to see you inshallah in the next episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.